Hello everyone, I hope you're doing very well. So today we're looking at coffee campaign, centered campaign. I don't really know what it's called, this campaign, day 13. So it's a campaign that we started a year ago and finished or quit halfway through a year ago. And we've literally done a full circle in the last year and we're back to it again, which is quite cool really when you think about it. So with a whole new bunch of people, in fact some of the same people, and we're continuing where we left off. Now, you'll remember this campaign, really big thumping campaign, and you can see here just the complexity of it compared to like one of my normal missions. It's a really big, complex, dynamic campaign where you can always kind of choose what you want to do. When we had it, the original coffee campaign, we had the entire map modelled with all the S300 sites and everything. We've had to cut that down. We're cutting it into sections this time to make it more manageable because we had all sorts of technical problems. So we're kind of doing it like it was, but we're making it more doable. That's one of the reasons why we had to quit. So we're just about on the limit of what we can handle here in the terms of, the quantity of SAMs and aircraft and stuff like that. So it should be okay. So to show you where we were up to the campaign, we've got Guadado, we're taking it. Sukumi we've got it on the ground, and you can see we're starting to push up with ground platoons here, but it's not yet a serviceable airfield, so that's coming up in the next few days. This mission 13, was to kind of set us back into the campaign. It was to destroy two oil rigs. Annoyingly, you can't see them. They don't show up from TAC view, which is a bit annoying, but so be it. Roughly where I'm maneuvering the cursor, I think down here somewhere, and an SA-10 site and an SA-3 site. I'm pointing at them. I'm pointing at all the wrong things. We'll see them as we go. It'll become obvious. To do that, and the idea is we're pushing a wedge, rather than going through the mountains, we're pushing a wedge into Red Force this way. If you remember, the Red Force, rather than the AI, is controlled by humans this time, so you've got human, or everything basically. And they're just members of GR as well, although I'd like to start getting the 104th in to fly Reds. I think that'd be really cool, but at the moment my blue guys don't want that, so I must not upset the blue guys. Anything else to say? The mission, and it went really well. Everyone took it really seriously. It was just like an old coffee mission. Everyone flew conservative safely and took it really seriously. So it's really good to see that kind of being passed down to the next generation of Grim Reapers, basically. Sure, let's get on with it. We're going to fly. And as per my orders, we fly together, not parade formation because it's a serious mission, but we keep our groups roughly together because with our limits of manpower, we had 4 cap guys. We have 3 Su-25s, roughly around here, and 4 Hornets, all kind of muddled in together. No, where's the Hornets? Here's the Hornets. No, 3 Hornets and Mirage. They were to kill this oil rigs, 3 Su-25s to kill the SA-10, and 4 cap guys a bit spread out. I didn't like the set out. The boys wanted the Su-25s. I wanted Hornets and I wanted Harms, but I guess we'll go through that in a bit. Yeah. So we'll see. We failed the mission, and I'll ask for your opinions as to what we could have done better. But we'll carry on for now. So the idea was to go to this point in the ocean and then come in that way. The reason is we don't want to go through the land. And the reason is, look at all these Tunguskas and these SA-3s, these SA-18s. It's not somewhere you want to fight over when you've got optically guided or wire guided or whatever radio guided missiles coming at you that you've got no chance of viewing and dodging, seeing and dodging realistically. So out to the sea where it's safe and we can control the airspace. We've got the fighters for it nowadays. We've got F-14s. F-14s are beautiful at controlling the airspace. They can put guys cold 60 miles away. Nothing else can do that. So really good stuff. And so that's our idea, is to get the cap set up, bar cap kind of around where my mouse cursor is going, in a chainsaw, growler, whatever you call it, from whichever country you're in. SA-25s come in, pop the SA-10, I think is there, and then the other boys find the oil rig. So in we go. So these guys have got a bit lost. No, they just decided to go this way for whatever reason, but it worked out fine for them. I think they were using the cover of these guys. Because we have no idea, the Reds are human. And they've got no restrictions. They can do anything they want. They have 2 lives each, so 3 of them, and they can do whatever they want. They can take off and bomb us when we're taking off. Pretty much anything they want to do. So we don't know what to expect. So we have to play it safe and conservative. It's not like an AI, which is predictable. AIs are always predictable. So in we go. And we have a little bit of a problem. We actually go a little bit too far south. That's, well, all of us. We had no excuse. We had data link and everything. We've even got, we can even see friendlies on the F10 menu, which is a nice treat. The reason we're doing that is just to stay true to the original campaign. We're trying to keep everything as the same as it was. So we go a little bit too far south. Doesn't really matter. Burn off a few too many gallons of fuel, but nothing really wrong with that. The cap goes in, me at the lead, and the reason is to start the, start the bar cap racetrack. The racetrack was agreed about 20 miles east to west, although it's going to go slightly south here because of whatever. We've got a nice spread, a bit unnaturally large, 10 miles. No, that's fine. It's all fine. These guys are turned in, they're going to go low. These guys are turned in, they're going to go low. So we've got the first SA10s, and this is the SA10s, the bane of our life, obviously. There's not a great deal we can do about them. It's a really hard setup to beat. A hostile SA10 with no terrain, if we had terrain to hide behind, like mountains, we could go, through the valleys, but we don't have that out here. So we had to go for the sea, and SA10s, they can shoot you 60 miles away, and those they're real high rocket burn, high kinetic missiles, they can just go for miles and miles. So it's going to be really difficult for us, and the typical thing I'd like to do, if we've got to beat an SA10, you can beat it, you can go 20. If you go 20 feet off the ground, you can beat it. You can go under its radar all the way to it, pop up, and assuming it's got no panzers defending it, which it might have here. Where are these SA-19s? No, it's out of range really. So they had no panzers or AAA. So what I could have done is popped it on the ground in an F5 here. Just launched up here and just killed it all with guns. But you can't, because we've got flankers. Human-controlled flankers, and they're going to sit right in this SA-10 coverage, and if anyone does try a close-in attack, they're just going to pepper us with ETs and ERs. So it was a really difficult scenario to do this, and I'm interested in how you guys think that we should have done it. We're putting out, we didn't want to go through the mountains, we wanted to come through here. Remember, we're going to kill oil rigs that are out roughly where I'm putting my mouse cursor here. So going through the mountains, I'm not particularly happy about. Going up high, it's impossible. This SA-10 will shoot you down at 150,000 feet. So it's not an easy thing to defeat. So the first SA-10s come out. I start dodging because we just start playing it through double speed or whatever. And look at the distance I'm having to, dodge these things at. That's 25 miles. Speed that up a bit more. We've got a nice bit of friendly fire going on there. Oh dear, that's not a good start. Poor old Talon and Kingston, they don't play much, so I don't think they get much practice, and they've just shot at, I think, Whistler. So there's a big, to make the correction here, there's a big button for the guy in the back seat. Watch my IFF video. You got to IFF before you fire it, guys. I assume it was Whistler that's been shot at here. He's got the launch warning, he's got the chaff going out by the looks of it. So, I've never seen that before. I'm not even sure how the radar managed to lock onto this guy. But that is clearly going for him, isn't it? It's turning as much as it can with its rocket motor on. Yeah, it's definitely Whistler. It's going up back to meet him. And Whistler, a little bit lucky there. That should have been friendly fire. So, big slap on the wrist for Talon and or Kingston, who have got no excuse to shoot a friend there. They've got all the IFF they need in that jet. And they know very well that a hostile is not 4.4 miles away from them. So back to training for those two, I think. They also run into a missile later on. Right, anyway, the rest of us, a bit more experienced, are concentrating on doing what we need to do at the moment. Dodging the missiles, protecting our charges. Our charges are these SUs and this strike group here. It's got the first guys going out here, first missiles going out, let's speed that up. The first ones are at me. So first thing I do, basically turn around. I've done several videos on how to beat S300 sites at different altitudes with different things in mind. Do we want to attack it? Do we want to stay defensive? Do we want to protect someone? These are the things that determine what we do. And so I'm just doing a typical kind of split S, and I'm going to now burn these missiles down. I'm probably going to flank it at this point. Beam it at this point. And again, the same boys, all the boys are doing the same thing. They've turned around, they've gone back, they're doing what they need to do to defeat them, basically. Bear in mind. And the good thing is that we are taking these shots so that the strike don't have to. So as soon as we've stopped getting shot at, then we turn around, we head back in, get some more missiles out. because we don't want this SA-10 shooting these guys. And it can shoot these guys. They're only at 300 feet, 200 feet. That's not actually very low when considering, we're going against this kind of weaponry. I think those missiles are after me or Squirtle. Yeah, they're after me. No, look at that. They went for me and then switched to these guys. No, they're definitely off of me. So I'm doing what I need to do to defeat them. And I've got a good picture. When you're fighting these things, it's actually hard work because it takes several minutes between when these are shot and when they get to me. And they've got lots of duration. All these are down at 300 knots, so they're not much use. But they can, especially if you're high, they can fly in the air for several minutes. So you've got to get a good idea from when they've been fired. You've got to count in your mind the miles that they've covered, and then that's going to tell you roughly where they are in the scheme of things tactically, and then what you can be doing, whether you need to be cold, whether you need to be going forward, whether you need to be notching, whatever you need to do. Squirtle, I think he's thinking they're after him. I think he's getting a warning from them by the looks of them, or from the radar. I think they're actually for me because they turn every time I turn. But whatever. I've got some fresh ones launched. I'm going to go cold. I've decided 20 miles is too close. And out we go. Squiddle's going to notch. Talon, Whistler coming close. And here's where it gets hard because we can't get any closer to this. It's simply, you just can't tackle these things any closer. These guys have gone in under the radar. TAS, although it says, I don't know why it slides way too high. So if you remember my videos, to beat these things, you've got to be about 20 feet. Oh, sorry, wrong thing. 125 feet. It's still a little high, really. Seethor, 186 feet. It's still pretty high. And Elos realises he's been shot on, and he has, hasn't he? And so he's going to do what he needs to evade. Now, when you're down on the deck like this, the range of an SA-10 is only about 15-ish miles, up to 20 miles, as we see here. So Elo's going to do what he needs to do. We're going to just carry on doing our thing. We've missed an important point. So these guys, Whiskey Flight, their mission was to kill the oil rigs. I mean, a good bit of preparation or experience let them down here. So they thought they'd come down here and find them with their eyes and avoid the sounds by going low. All perfectly good. That's exactly what I would have thought. Exactly what I would have done. Reality is they got to this point, which is 28 miles off the coast, and they couldn't find the oil rigs anywhere. And they started getting launch warnings, even though I don't think they're actually being fired at. I think they just saw the missiles coming up and probably getting maybe spiked by this guy here. And they made a pretty wise decision to turn around. And I've been ruminating over the last evening whether they should have turned or not. And it's, what do you guys think? And at the end of it, I've come to the decision that they made the right decision. They should have turned around. In reality, they had no way of doing this. To see the oil rigs down on the deck, there was fog. If you remember the briefing, there was fog and visibility was down to 5,000 feet, which is less than 1 mile. So if you saw from the video, these guys trying to look down here, you can only see a mile in front of you or something like that for something on the ground. So the fact is, unless you were up high, you couldn't have seen those oil rigs for more than, a couple of miles away. And they never would have found them, simple as that. There was just no way to find them down here. And if they would have gone higher, they would have got shot down immediately by the SA-10. And if they would have gone somewhere in between, they would have got shot down by these guys. So there was no way I can think that they could have done their mission. Apart from, no, even standoff wouldn't have worked because you wouldn't have seen them in time. The only way of these guys doing their mission, I think, was for us to have done our job, taken out the SA-10, taken out the flankers, and then these guys could have moseyed on in and shot it with guns point blank. Otherwise, I just don't think it was possible, and I think they realised that they realised we're getting close to an SA-10 now. We're getting spiked by a flanker. I can't see what I'm trying to fight, what I'm trying to find here. I think I'm probably going to die. And I asked them in the briefing if they thought there was a high chance that they were going to die, and they turned away. And that's what they did, kept the airframe safe for another day. This mission that they were taking on, they realised was simply impossible at the last minute. So I've been thinking how they could have done this. One method may have been taking in a Viggen, one or more Viggens. Viggens has a air-to-ground radar, remember, it can spot things, and it maybe could have spotted those oil rigs. I don't know whether that's modelled in DCS or not. And that possibly could have got them into tally of those oil rigs, and maybe they could have then used their RB-75s or whatever to bomb them. I don't think the Viggens are very well suited for taking down oil rigs, but you might have done something in the Viggen, even if its guns might have worked. But you face the same problems. You can't go low enough, even in a Viggen, to go under an SU-27 radar. You might have got below the SA-10, but manoeuvring using your radar and attacking the target, even 10 miles away from the SA-10, you probably would have got shot then. So even then, even with the Vigan, it's probably still would have been pretty much impossible. Standoff, the only weapons I can think of are JDAMs. They could have possibly tossed JDAMs. We've tossed JDAMs over 15 miles now without the lightning pod or whatever it's going to get, and hit ships and targets. So that might have worked. These guys were going on about they had the wrong coordinates. It's very unlikely. They probably had the right coordinates. I don't know, but they probably had the right coordinates, but the chances are that they just couldn't see the targets for the reason we've described earlier. And they, again, I support the decision that they made to turn around. So that's all good. Could they have done it with standoff dropping bombs? They would have had to have got 5 miles closer in and dropped it from a height. I mean, they would have been shot at by this SA-10 by then. It's just, could they have got the bombs off in time before the SA-10 hit? 50-50 chance, I'd say. And would you actually do that kind of risk on a coffee campaign? Realistic campaign like this? No, you wouldn't. So there you go. They did pretty much everything they could, I think. So kudos. Meantime, we're doing the best we can. We're getting shot at constantly, so there's only so much we can do. So heading in, these boys have got under the radar. I don't think they're actually low enough to get under the radar at 150 feet. I've done pretty thorough testing, and you really need to be 40 feet or under. But for whatever reason, the SA-10 is preferring to track us lot in here, so they are getting through. Well, I'll say that. They're now getting shot at. You can see LO's reacted well to missiles. He's ditched one. Another one's coming out for him. So they are now getting shot. And the reason is they just weren't low enough. When you go low, like the videos I've made, you've got to go low. You've got to scrape the waves. Otherwise, these missiles will see you easily. Great work from the Reds as well. Really patient, just sitting here waiting. There was 2 decided to fly. 1 decided to be a GCI. And doing exactly, what they need to do, which is to sit in this little cone of protection and attack anything that gets within 10 miles. Makes this an impossible thing to attack, other than, lobbing a nuke at it. Hello, great work dodging. It's just ditched 3 S-300P missiles. And he's taken the heat off these 2, allowing them to get through. Us still struggling with the shit we've been struggling on, basically. Whistler gets a couple of AIM-54s out, and that's good work, because what that's going to do is suppress him and him. So that's important. And F-50s, we just can't do it. We can't get close enough. But with the standoff Phoenix ability, we can do that, which is great. It's going to keep these guys under the cosh. So Sly and Seethor just get too close to this 15 miles, and out comes the defence. And these guys are basically vulnerable at this point. They've got an SA-10 shooting over their shoulder, and we have to be careful with our gas as well. We can't, I was rarely using my burners at this point here because we've got a long way to travel, 100 miles to go back. Same with all of these planes, so we have to factor that in as well when we're doing this fight. Okay, so this guy has seen Sly, and he's taken a shot at 8 miles, so it's possibly a dead Sly. Sly ditches, beams 1, ditches it, nice work. Beams 1, ditches another. The way he can do that is because he's fast enough, he's low enough to ditch those missiles. Good work, but it's not going to work forever. Something does eventually take him down. Well, like I said, you have to be fast enough or low enough to ditch missiles, and his ASL's gone up. So he no longer qualifies to be able to ditch a missile because his altitude's gone up. I think this one might actually track all the way and get him. Yeah, that's exactly right. Lesson learned there. Got lazy, got too high. And that's why he died. If he was down at 100 feet, he could have beaten that. Luckily, this guy would have killed Seethor, but if not for Whistler's excellent work of shooting these Phoenixes, one on this guy, one on that guy, and that's put both of these guys cold. And that's the only chance we've got now of getting this guy in. And he does get in. Seethor is our top man. So he's going to go in. He's going to put 4 missiles in. Now the problem is, you're probably shouting, why didn't you use the KH-58s? We didn't have them. We had a bug with the mission. We couldn't load them. So we had to use short-range missiles, which are like 10 miles. Well, yeah, you see they're 8 miles. Otherwise, we would have been just pummeling KH-58s in. Now, I think the SA-10 would have just shot those KH-58s down anyway. So, personally, I don't think an Su-25 would have done diddly squat to this thing. In fact, just getting this far is bloody amazing. And he pumps his missiles in. Now, It's coffee campaign, which means it's realistic campaign, annoyingly, which means the SA-10 isn't in a convenient little bundle like I put them. It's spread out. It's got this tower 4 miles away, 5 miles away, whatever. It's got this tower 4 or 5 miles away and one other radar there. So it makes it very hard to kill when everything's spread out like that. Hard to concentrate your fire. Seedor is meanwhile getting killed, shot by missiles. Now look, can he satisfy the 2 factors we talked about for dodging an S-300? Is he fast enough? Yes. Is he low enough? Yes. Ergo, he can dodge missiles. And that one there. So that's a good lesson there, how to dodge these missiles. Meanwhile, his missiles get through. Luckily, there's no panzers, nothing to shoot these down, and that is pow-pow. However, the annoying thing about the S-300 is it doesn't even need that. It can operate without it. It can operate with just... I can't remember which is the clamshell and which is the big bird. It can operate with just or the clamshell or the big bird and the thing that's in here. I can't remember. You guys know better than me. Again, another reason why it's so dangerous. These guys are still getting pinged by the M54s, so they're sent cold. It would have been nice to have pinged these guys before the Su-25s have gone in, and sent these guys cold before the Su-25s have gone in. But, you know, it's simply not that easy when you're getting shot by S-300s. And then would have had more survival rates, saying that both Su-25s only died to SA-10, and both of them... No, sorry, only one of them died. And he only died because he went too high temporarily. Okay, this guy got shot down. I think this is just bad flying. So he had all the... this is Talon and Kingston. They had all the warning in the world that this thing is after them. They're constantly being warned by the track radar. That they made a decision to turn back in. And based on the distance, it's not that bad a decision. It's actually, to be honest, it's exactly what I would have done. So... maybe they were just a bit unlucky, I think, here. They went 40 miles away, they turned back in, and that's usually a perfectly good thing to do to an S-300. Even at 20,000... yeah, even at 20,000 feet, that, to be honest, it's perfectly fine to do. So let's just track the missile again and just see exactly what went wrong. See if it's always good to find a way of learning from the error. So, this is what happened. Talon and Kingston was shot at 35 miles. Incredibly frustrating, but it happens. Angel's 30, that sounds a perfectly good shot. And what they've done is they've turned around, gone down, cold, split S, perfect. They've done everything they needed to do. Then they've turned back at 40 miles, so they've racetracked back, how far from... Now, that was the only error there. They only racetracked back 5 miles. Yeah... I kind of understand that, to be honest. I'd probably still do that myself. In reality, if they'd gone back 10 miles, they would have survived this. But I guess it's just something you have to learn. So they've gone back to 40 miles. They've turned back in, recommitted. And this missile has just got the energy seal. It's going to float into them at 300 knots. They're thinking at this point, okay, I've beaten this missile kinetically. I went 40 miles away, I turned away. There's no way a missile can, still follow me. Well, it just shows how good these SA-10s really are. And it's calm. And yes, he's getting a warning, but to be honest, we're all getting warnings all the time because there's so many radiation beams coming out, B sweeps coming out from this thing. Track B sweeps, track sweeps, whatever you call them. So I don't really blame them for that, really. A bit unlucky, whatever you want to call it. And just floated into them at 400 knots at the end of the day, just dropped down on them. So be it. Seedor escapes because he's going low enough. And these guys didn't really want to... they would have beaten it easily also if they'd gone down low, but they don't really want to go down low. They're not much use from down low. They want to lob their AIM-54s up. So, a bit unfortunate there. So, that's all it is. At that point, we cut our losses and we say, look, we can't do this. That thing's still got half its missiles left. These guys are running low on gas. We're burnt all our bags, so we burnt 50% gas pretty much. These guys are going to be low on gas. These guys have lost one. We've lost one. These guys have lost nothing. And they've still got their full SAM network up. So we call it a day, which I think is the right thing to do. What would you have done? Turned around and gone in again? Well, we just would have got shot down. So, end of that. Wrong weapons for the job is all I can surmise. And all wrong tactics. So what could we have done? Couldn't have gone onto the radar. Reasons I've spoke about. You're just going to get slammed by those 27s. Remember, those Su-27s see all. They've got GCI and AWACS. So, in fact, they're human GCI, so you can't even go under it. You can't even go 5 feet. Nothing will evade these Su-27s. So what would have worked? I want to do my idea, and that's why I'm going to rerun this mission tonight. I'm going to do a rematch, training rematch. And what we're going to have is a squad of 4. The way I've learned to beat an SA-10 from standoff is what we call the Grim Reaper's Iron Hand. So it's taking 4 or more Hornets, fully racked with 16 harms, flying towards the thing, Angel's 30, as fast as we can, burners on. As soon as it fires at us, then we know we can be pretty sure, because we're higher and this can't dodge, that we can Iron Hand our missiles in. So we fly until we get shot at by this guy, and then we launch 16 missiles at this, then turn away and bugger off. And that is 16 harms coming in, and this can only track at up to 8 things. So I can only track up to 8 things, because in real life that's all, you know, no one's going to be doing Iron Hand like we do in real life. It's just all it can track, 8. It will shoot down 8 of our missiles, 8 will get through, and assuming there's nothing else to shoot them down, it's going to take something out. It's going to damage that thing severely. So that is what I'd like to do tonight. We'd have pretty much the same cap, doing just a racetrack. What else can they do, really? There's only Tomcats. I'd like to see some more AIM-54s going out to suppress these guys. And then to kill these oil rigs, we've got to kill that, and we've got to kill the flankers. We've got to be able to get in here and search with our eyes. That's the only way we can do this. So we're going to Iron Hand that SA-10, hopefully neutralise it. We're going to AIM-54 the shit out of these boys here, and then we're going to get our close guys, be Harriers, more Hornet. No, we've got limited airframe, so probably Harrier or something like that, to come here and just fly around and search for these oil rigs by eye from up high and dive down, drop your Mark 82, and then we're home. I think that's the only way we can do this mission. Let me know your thoughts on that. And remember, there's no hiding here either. Human shows DCS sees all. So if we go through here, we're just going to have a few flankers, interceptors. And it's forced us high. As soon as we go high, we've got S-18 shooting at us, blah, blah, blah. So that's that. Right, lots to learn. Hope it helps. See you later.